Hello, Redneck Computer Geek here, and welcome to my review of the Turboant X7 Pro. Now, I'm not one to complain when I get offered the chance to test drive a $450 electric scooter. I've always found these interesting, and this scooter did not disappoint. Today's test drive is going to be on a 5.4 mile stretch of varying terrain of all different types, and we'll see what this scooter is capable of. Now, before we get started, Turboant claims that it's capable of 20 miles per hour. It basically has 3 speeds. The first speed is up to about 8 miles per hour. The second speed is up to about 12 to 13, and then the next speed will get you up to about 20 miles per hour. Although I'm going to assume that rating was done with somebody who weighs less than 200 pounds, as it was never able to max out on a flat anything more than about 17 to 18 with me on it. Now, the range that they claim is on a flat surface is its rating at 30 miles. Now, given the battery use that we ended up finding today, I'm going to bet that that 30 miles is probably doable on flat terrain. The charge time of 6 hours definitely was right on par, and the battery is chargeable on the unit. And that's important because this battery pack isn't the nicest to try and take off and tends to be a little sticky. It also has some very small connections in the bottom of the battery, so I would recommend charging it on the unit. Now, this trip took about 30 minutes, so I'm going to fast forward through the boring parts, but talk about a couple of key points as we're driving. One first key point is that it starts like a scooter. It only has a 350 watt motor, so you do have to kick it off. It has a sensor in it that will not actually initiate the motor until you pass about 3 miles per hour by kicking it. While we're at that, we'll also note the fact that the machine freewheels. And as you can see, this hill is nothing to joke about. The brakes did end up working for this hill, but as you can see, I'm pulling them pretty decently, and it doesn't fully stop me. You need to plan ahead on hills because it freewheels. The motor gives no resistance whatsoever, which is a great feature on moderate hills, but on really big giant hills like this one, it can get a little scary at times. Another thing that I'll note as we come down onto the bridge here is that you may end up hearing in the video a beeping noise. On the right hand side, the cruise control, the throttle, along with the 3 speed choices are all controlled by your thumb. Now, as I come onto the bridge here, you'll see I'm wobbling back and forth. I'm in the lowest mode that's possible on it, and I found it to be, well, let's just say a little disconcerting on stability at 5 miles per hour. As you get into second gear, you definitely notice a difference in stability. I hypothesize it has to do with the 30 pounds worth of batteries that are in the handle of the machine instead of in the base like other models that I've seen. Now, I've cut out most of the footage of the 2 miles down the rail trail, but I wanted to include this little bit. If you listen, at a point you're going to hear me shift it into third, and you'll see what 16 miles per hour on an electric scooter with a 10-inch front wheel looks like on crushed rock. And a quick side note, as we come around on these slippery leaves on gravel doing 16 miles per hour on this thing, The cruise control does not care if you are on the scooter. So if you're in cruise control and you were to fall off, this thing would perpetually keep driving at 16 miles per hour until it crashes into something. Always keep your thumb on the throttle, and any time that you suspect anything needing to slow down, tap the throttle and it will come out of cruise control. I found that if you ended up tapping on the brake, that it all of a sudden slammed the back brake a little bit too hard and almost threw you. If you need to do any hard braking, as funny as it sounds, sticking your butt out the back before hitting the brakes was definitely advised, and I found to be the best procedure. It put the most weight over the rear tire and made a giant difference in braking. As I come up on these people in front of me, I'd like to go and give a universal electric vehicle danger warning. You are running way quieter than what most people an average day are used to. And as you'll see with this group, the guy on the left never realizes I'm there until I'm almost about 5 feet behind him. I found this to be quite common while I was out on the trail, even when I was in third gear cruising along pretty noisily. You have to pay attention and make sure that the people actually see you coming, or that you slow down within a few feet behind them, and sometimes you jump the snot right out of them. Now, as we hit the end of this trail, I'll reiterate that these tires are made for tar, and as I hit all of this loose gravel, the machine bogs down severely. In the future, I probably would just plain walk through stuff like this. The scooter is definitely not built for it. But let's get on the road, and let's see what this thing will do when we open up coming out onto the open road. And here's our reality of the scooter's 15% grade climbing capability. I'm in third gear, and you can see the slowdown in this machine. Unfortunately, it just doesn't have the power with that 350 watts in order to be able to climb halfway decent country hills. And the even sadder part is, this was not the biggest hill I tried. I ended up having to actually push it up a few different hills if it was anything worse than the incline of this one. Remember that freewheel warning I gave earlier in the video? Well, this is me ending up doing 28 miles per hour coming around this corner and catching up with this touristy couple that was in the minivan in front of me. Now, it wasn't that it got unstable at 28 miles an hour, but the thing is rated for 20. Just a little side note. Well, here we are at the conclusion of our 5.5 miles worth of ride. Covered in dust, few learning experiences along the way, and after 5.5 miles we are at half the battery. So I'd say that their 16 is probably doable on a flat area, but I don't think that it's going to be actually doable in real world up and down hills. You definitely could see the struggle during the video, but for what it is, for the price that it's at, I rather enjoyed it.